ChadArmesTV. We are back with another Artist Spotlight Series interview. And this is a dope one I've been excited to get ready to do, man. This is a guy that I linked with on IG a few months back through Chucky V, correct?
Yes, sir.
And we've got the man himself, Screenshot, in the building.
What up?
What's going on, man?
Man, not much. How are you, Chad?
I'm good, bro. I'm good, man.
Yeah.
We appreciate you coming on the ChadArmesTV platform, man. I'm looking forward to this interview, man.
Yeah, me too, man. It's good to finally meet you, man. I was, back in town for a little while. We had to link up, man. I'm excited.
No, for sure, man. You want to tell them what you're in town for?
Man, I'm actually in town for doing a show with Cliffy D. Cliffy D, me and him go way back. We got he's doing his big birthday bash out in Lebanon at Cahoots Dance Hall. Cliffy D calls me up, I answer. He needs me for anything, I'm there. And we're doing I'm gonna jump on stage with him doing the DJ versus drum set with Jason Kidd, and we're really excited, man. It's gonna be awesome.
Dope, man. Yeah, that's dope. Shout out to Cliffy for sure. Shout out to Rig.
Yeah, I just came from their studio last night. We recorded some tracks, man. It was awesome, man. Cliffy D, Rig, they got a great thing going, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
Oh, dope, man. So let's just start from the beginning, do like we do with these interviews, man. You want to tell the people, like, born and raised here, or was we born and raised somewhere else, or?
Man, I was actually born in Phoenix, Arizona. I was there till I was about 12 years old, and then unfortunately my mother passed away, and my dad took custody of me. He's from Nashville, so he just took a early retirement from the Air Force, and he ended up bringing me out there pretty shortly after she passed, and ended up going to middle school and high school in Cheatham County, that's where I was, and that's kind of really just home now. I've been there 25 years until I just moved recently, but Nashville's pretty much home. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What was it like growing up? Like bouncing from? You said he was in Arizona. How long?
12 years.
So what was it like growing up in Arizona?
Man, it was great. I kind of had, before everything hit the fan, I had a great life. It was just basketball and, Phoenix Suns, and you know what I'm saying? Like, it was all good, but unfortunately things took a turn when my mother passed from some complications from pneumonia. And
rest in peace, man. I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it was rough, but I don't know. It was very odd because I just kind of disassociated and didn't allow myself to feel it, and then. Unfortunately, I don't have much of a good relationship with my father. When we moved in, it was kind of like living in a small little hell because there was, I don't know, he's got anger issues, and it was mentally and physically abusive, and unfortunately, it was a pretty series of shitty events after that. I ended up losing my uncle, all four of my grandparents, and my best friend before I turned 18.
It was just, so when you moved in with your pops, like that was because of you losing your mom, so you're already trying to cope with that, and then him being the way you said he was, and having to deal with all that loss before 18, that's crazy, bro. I'm sorry you had to go through all that.
Yeah, man, it was like I was just blindsided by all of it, and I just didn't know how to deal, and so I just learned to act like nothing happened, you know what I'm saying? Like, and unfortunately that has its own repercussions, because once I got a little older and I found drugs and alcohol, that kind of, what I thought at the time gave me, what I was looking for, a way to just not feel and just, cover up the pain, but really it was just a Band-Aid over a gaping wound, and I would find out how bad that was later on in life, because I battled shit for quite a few years on and off and trying to get sober and doing all that, but it was just taking over, it was the way I dealt with pain, and, when you're young, you don't really think, you don't think about the down the road and how this stuff is going to echo throughout your future, it's just it's like, oh, get through one more day, but it kind of got worse and worse after a while.
When did you say that started? Was it when you was a teenager, or was it after all that?
I started using things right around 16. Okay. I was pretty straight arrow till then, but I would say maybe once I got to like 2021 is when things started to pick up. That's when Oxycontin started rolling around.
Oh, yeah, because we're the same age. We talked off camera. We're the same age, so your timeline and mine, as far as like things that were going on, is going to be the same because we were. Yeah. Especially, too, it may be because having all those losses happen to you before you were 18. You probably did you even process any of that before? Like, I guess as much as you figured you could have.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think that was really part of the problem. I didn't process, I didn't grieve, you know, and the only thing I got from the only person being there for me was, you know, suck it up, get over it, be strong for other people, you know, when really you got to deal with those emotions, you got to feel them, you've got to work them out, and it just kind of never happened. And, you know, I was kind of, you know, just pulled away from everything I knew and dropped into Nashville in the South, and it was just culture shock, you know, everything was crazy, and, you know, it was just kind of getting by, you know, and, you know, I would get kicked out of the house, you know, I'd be living with friends for a while when I was 16, it was just back and forth, but yeah, just like, I unfortunately learned the worst way to do it early, and then that's just how it carried on, and unfortunately it was just this wave of death after death and shitty thing after shitty thing, to the point where it's just like that, you know, finding drugs and alcohol, it was like that was the only kind of thing that seemed to fit that I could get a hold of, you know, but you know, like I said, I had no fucking clue how bad it would actually get, you know.
Yeah, I hate hearing that, bro. I know, and especially like for the younger people watching back then, because I went through, I mean, drugs too, man. I was addicted to pain pills for years, bro. Mm-hmm. And then towards the end of it, it was pain pills and Xanax. And it was like back then, that was when the pill, and I'm not trying to glorify it, but that's when the shit was real.
Yeah.
It wasn't this stuff, I don't even know what the stuff is now, but I know a lot of it's because I don't do it anymore, but
right.
I heard it's not, it's all fake stuff and press stuff. And that was back when all that stuff was really starting to become a big thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I worked in a factory for 9 years, and bro, it was, I would say 75% of the people I worked with were taking something.
Right.
Especially factory work, you know what I mean?
Sure.
In the early to mid 2000s, but as you was going along with that, when did music become something? Because to the people watching, hip hop's not the first thing that you started doing, correct?
No, sir. Yeah, actually, it was been in like rock and roll and metal and hardcore bands when I was younger. That was kind of like my escape. That was some sort of creative outlet that I, you know, like it was the only thing that even touched, you know, helping me work through some stuff. You know what I mean? And it was great. It was something I hung on to, and you know, the creative process was at least something good I was doing for my mind and myself. You know, but you know, it only carried so long, and you know, if you don't find the right people going in a similar musical direction and all that stuff, it never, you know, I jump around from different bands and whatnot, but it just I never got anything to really click for too long to turn it into something more, you know, at least with the people I was with. But yeah, I was just, you know, I battled the painkillers on and off, you know, quite a bit, and it would come back in for a while, and you know, but it was like we were part of the, you know, the early OxyContin epidemic, you know, when it was cheap, you know, like that was the whole thing. Like we used to get it cheap, so it wasn't affecting your pockets. It didn't affect how you work. It wasn't like being a crack addict, you know. You could go work longer and longer hours, you know. Like
I know I did.
Yeah.
Mine was it was Lord times, but it wasn't like I wasn't taking more than I was supposed to take. I had messed my back up at work and started taking those and didn't like the way they made me feel, so then they gave me something lesser than Lortabs,
right,
which were like tramadol, but they ended up becoming a narcotic too.
Right, but
so
they were like, prescribing it like candy back then. Yeah,
every month I would just get it refilled for years,
and then
it just become part of my everyday thing. I didn't even think about it.
Right, and then when they put that restriction, they started to put restrictions on it. You know, it went from a cheap drug to a super expensive drug, you know, but like you pull that rug out from under, the addiction's still there, you know, so people started doing stupid shit, turning in the needle. I mean, I can't tell you how many friends that I know, you know, went to the needle and didn't come back, you know, like I was very lucky that I never made that jump, but I mean, OxyContin tore me apart, you know, like, I mean, it was a long struggle. And then, you know, even did like the Suboxone route, but that's the devil in itself too. Like, you know, it was just like an illusion of sobriety, you know, and it's crazy how it just runs away from you. And it was just like so willy-nilly back then, and then all of a sudden it just boom, like so many people it got a hold of and it never let go, you know.
Yeah, and it's crazy when you say it like that, because it's true. Like back then, and I'm talking like 10, 12 years ago, whenever it was, everybody was just taking them. And it wasn't even like a thing that people addressed like now, because I guess because a lot of people weren't dying because of it, or it wasn't as prevalent as it is now. And a lot of it may have been because they were just like out of sight, out of mind until it became
exactly
like an epidemic.
Yeah, when I quit taking it first, I didn't know you'd get sick after you took it 3-4 weeks in a row. Like I remember being so surprised. Like I'm like, what is happening to me right now? Like it was so insane, and immediately you're like, well, I don't want to feel like that, and it just kind of, it's so crazy. Thinking back, especially like where we are now with the drug epidemic and all the shit that they went through in the pharmaceutical companies and all that stuff. Like it's just so crazy to think that we were at the beginning of all that, and now where it is now with fentanyl getting a hold of people, and it's wild, man. I'm so fucking blessed that I was able to get away from that shit. It's been 10 years since I've had an opiate. So
dope, man.
Yeah, man.
Congrats on that. That's
very proud of that.
That's an accomplishment in itself, because a lot of people can't ever shake them to that level. You know what I mean? So like musically, what were your biggest influences like coming up? I know you said that you were doing like stuff other than rap, but like what was it that got you into music?
Right. And weirdly though, rap was one of my first loves. I mean, literally the first cassette tape I ever owned was MC Hammer, Can't Touch This, you know what I mean? I remember getting my little Sony tape player, and I used to put it up on my ear and walk around the block like I was a hard ass in this little cute little neighborhood, that I lived in, It was that was first, and then who else was a huge one of my first CD was Cypress Hill's Black Sunday. Man,
Cypress Hill was the shit.
Cypress Hill was great, and I think it definitely showed. It was one of the first times it showed me that it was people that weren't just doing like obviously I listened like the Chronic and see Doggy Style and all that stuff was coming around the same time, but like Cypress Hill was just something completely different. But they just had this element that was just so captivating, and they were just, I don't know, it kind of showed me that there's a lot of people, different types of people able to do this, and it's just a craft in itself, and the music, it just, I don't know, it can become so expansive. And then just the more I got into it and listened to so many different things, like, I don't know, it was just that, but that had a lot of influence on me going, forward. And I think I've noticed that as my rap career has, progressed now, like I do derive, like influence from those days, and it's pretty crazy to think about.
Yeah. So you said you lived in Arizona for 12 years, and then when your mother passed, you moved to Nashville.
Yeah.
Or like Cheatham County, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you were here for how long?
Yeah, 25 years, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So and I just moved to San Diego a little over 2 years ago. Mainly just because I don't know, I've been in the South 25 years. I never got that opportunity to like go pick up and start over in a different city, and just wanted some motion in my life. And but I love it, man. It's been great. But my heart's always Nashville. I'm really it's crazy to be back here, but I'm glad I am. And it's where my roots are, and I've learned you don't forget where you fucking come from. And I don't know. Luckily, I met a lot of people along the way, and my different career paths that I've done, and downtown scene and all that, to where like a lot of people I work with now are people that I knew from way back when. So it's been, I don't know, it's been really cool. I've gotten a lot of help from people in music, that I've known along the way. So I'm very blessed to have that.
Yeah, for sure. Do you want to speak about how you and Cliffy, how you know Cliffy for all these years?
Man, so Cliffy, my dad, was one of the few times we were somewhat getting along. He owned a nightclub on 2nd Avenue. It's called Hurricanes. I'm sure a lot of people remember that if you're in our age bracket. That was like the spot for a while.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, man, we got down. But Cliffy actually started DJing for the club, and we met there, and we just hit it off like best buddies. And we smoked together, hung out, and did all kind of shit, man. And I ended up DJing at that club for a while. He kind of taught me some shit, and like, I don't know, we just rocked the house. We get wild out, fucking partying all the time, and it was super good times. But me and Cliffy always stayed close, and he's was just a great dude, man. And also like seeing him at the young age we were at, 'cause I didn't have my shit together, but like he was like on it. He was all over the club scene, making good money, and like he was grinding, and like I always respected his hustle, and we actually, our relationship like years later after the club kind of fell apart and all that, like we actually ended up living together for a while. We were roommates for about a year. We lived at some fucking $1 million house out in Hendersonville that his homie was trying to sell but couldn't, and they were like, all right, y'all can stay here cheap, just you got to get out when you sell it, But, So we partied in that shit for a while. I mean, tons of good times, man. But and then
That's dope, man.
weirdly, you know, when I started this project back in 2020, like he was one of the first guys to reach out to me, and just he immediately kind of took me under his wing and kind of put me on a show, started working with me, and it was so cool. And like I was very, very lucky early on to have guidance from somebody like that was doing it and doing so much in the music scene, and like that cared about me enough to bring me in and kind of put me on, you know. And it's helped me, God, so much, you know. And we continue to work today, you know.
Right, which is dope because like you said at the beginning of the interview, you're in town because you're performing at his birthday bash and working on like collaborations with him.
Yeah. We did. I left the studio last night. Went down to Cliffy Studios with him and DJ O-Rig. Had a ball, man. We were having a good time, man. But we cut 2 tracks. We got a couple coming up soon. We'll be putting those out shortly. I'm really excited about that. It was great to actually like work with them in a studio, you know, and really do the damn thing. But I mean, they are just beasting on the game. O-Rig's a fucking wizard, you know, like watching him work in real time was just, it was awesome. And it was really cool to just feed off of that energy and lay down a track. And we got some big plans coming up for this year, man. We're going to have some really good releases. Got a lot of surprises in store, so I'm excited, man.
Dope, man. So what made you come up with the name, like your artist name Screenshot? How'd that come out?
Shit, man. It was, I don't know. I was trying to find, you know, like I wanted something that wasn't like this whole deal. I didn't want some little thing, or you know what I'm saying, like some, you know, regular rap name. But I wanted something that hit, and it was one word, and it was just, I don't know. Just I always liked rap names that had like, you know, it's like I wouldn't have ever thought of that as a rap name, but it weirdly works, you know. And I was like, it could be really marketable. It could work, you know, and like, you know, or it could be really stupid. So, but I don't care. I just kind of went with it, and it just kind of works. Like now, you know, there have been a couple times in my mind I was like, man, I don't know, maybe I should change it. Mainly because like I've realized searching my shit can sometimes be a little tough, you know. Like you kind of have to put the song title too, you know, or at least till I get it on a certain level. Like, but you know, I don't know. I'm kind of rolling with it right now, and it just kind of I built my brand around it, and Screenshot Music, and just kind of I don't know, it works, and I dig it, and it's fun to rap, and it works in rap lines and shit, you know. So it's
sure, yeah. And most of the time, whenever somebody gives a backstory on how they got their name, it's usually something like that. It's
right.
It's just something kind of that pops in your head that's got a good ring to it.
Right.
So, April 13th, 2020, you dropped Definition.
Yes, sir.
And was that your first official release as far as rap goes on streaming platforms?
Yeah, as far as streaming platforms, yes. That was my first release. I started out like, you know, I started during the pandemic. I hadn't even touched music for quite a while. And I actually met an amazing girl who is a classically trained pianist and musician, and she was doing a lot. And like, she saw some of my writing, and she kept encouraging me. She's like, you need to get back to it, you need to do it, you know. And I started, you know, it was during the pandemic, you know, when nobody had shit to do, and I just started kind of writing again. And then I was like, well, you know, I was like, I can't really get a band right now, but I can, you know, I love rap and always enjoyed doing shit like that, just fucking around with homies and stuff, you know. And I decided to just start, you know, picking up some beats and messing on them a little bit, and it ended up turning out pretty damn good. And I just it just snowballed into, you know, I thought about maybe releasing some stuff, and I started doing like freestyle videos on, you know, on some beats, just throwing them up online, you know. And I was like, you know what, something just kind of came over me. It was very weird. Like I just like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. And you know, I realized like if there was anything holding me back, it was my own fucking ego and worried about what other people were thinking, you know, starting a rap career in your 30s, you know, shit like that. But I was just like, that's not who I want to be. I don't want to live my life with that sort of lens on keeping me from doing stuff. I mean, and I started to think about how much I didn't do that I really enjoy because I was worried about how other people were viewing it. And, you know, I've learned a lot through my later years that it's just like, fuck all that, you know, like you're supposed to do all those things. And if you're drawn to something, if you find yourself drawn to something, you should pursue it and do it. And I don't know, I started to put it out, and I ended up picking the name and going with it. And I finally ended up writing Definition. And I just kind of went, you know, balls in with that. Like I just wanted to like just really go out. Definition, I kind of do all kind of different stuff, and it was, I don't know, like it was just like I tried to like flex out as much as I could, just get all that stuff inside out, you know, but in like a fun way, you know, in a hype kind of way, and it just, I don't know, it worked, and it was, I ended up wanting that to be my first release, you know, and it was great.
So do you have producers that you're working with exclusively on these tracks, or is it you just kind of?
So let's see. I reached out to a guy to mix and record me at first, a guy named Dallas at Record One. He had some stuff going on out of his house. I was just trying to find something like affordable, but somebody that can kind of work with me, and being the, you know, like a newer, artist and whatnot, and kind of, you know, a bit naive to the whole game, you know, like ended up going to him, and he helped me produce my first two, and it ended up going good.
Now, was you in California during the pandemic when this started?
No. So I was still in Nashville.
Okay,
Okay. I hadn't left yet. I was still living in East Nashville, up off Granada. And we literally had a little closet I was recording in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was humble beginnings for sure.
For sure.
But and then I was just recording, you know, like the demos and stuff at home, you know, because we had a little setup with a MacBook and stuff. But like those are my two tracks that I went and got produced. But I ended up in my releases after that just doing it kind of all on my own, with just me and my girlfriend, you know, producing mainly everything. And she has a background in music from going to Berkeley and Boston, and so she actually like mixed, you know, helped me mix a lot of my stuff, you know, and it kind of worked out. It just made more sense right now because I just realized that early on, like, you don't really have a whole lot of ears, you know, so like you shouldn't be breaking the bank on every track you put out, you know. It's really about volume and consistency, you know, and that's kind of where I shifted. Exactly, you know.
Yeah, so you said the first two you did with that one producer. Then, so was Dwight Schrute, which was the single you dropped September 28th, 2020. Is that when it was just you and her doing them?
Yeah. So I got a beat. I was given a beat from this one cat that she had worked with on one of her tracks, and she does like top line EDM stuff. And it was just a guy had some beats, and I ended up saying, you know, liking one of them, and you know, the Dwight Schrute actually was literally like half joke track for my girlfriend because we always watched The Office together, and she loved Dwight, and I weirdly heard something on this beat, and I got with the chorus, and I was like, no, fuck it, I'm gonna keep writing on this. I ended up just writing her a funny track, but I was like, this is fucking sick. Like, you know, it's like it was too good to kind of just let it be a joke track between us, and I was just like, you know what, here's another time where like I just need to put this out, you know. And it's, weirdly, that was the track that got for a while that got the most legs, you know, that I got the most plays on, you know, because I you know, it did what ideally what a lot of tracks do. It kind of bridged, you know, over to people that like The Office, and you know, like, I mean, it just kind of, it weirdly snowballed in that world a little bit too, and got some attention. So it was cool. It helped a lot. I mean, still to this day, it's probably my third most played track, something like that, you know. Like, I mean, I'm still, you know, pretty small time, but like, yeah, it still has some legs. It's funny how that works.
Yeah, and I mean, on Apple Music, it's showing it's your most streamed one on Apple Music right now.
Really? No shit.
Which is dope.
Yeah.
So you dropped that in September 28th of 2020, and then was the next one that you dropped, was that Classic like a year later?
Yeah. Because I'd moved during that time. So Dwight Schrute, yeah.
San Diego.
So I kind of, not that I took a full break, but I mean, I was literally packing up, moving across the country. You know, we drove, cross country over there. We had to get set up with there and a new job, and you know, the whole thing. So I was trying to establish myself at a new bar. I was like really determined to work at a bar right on the water, on the ocean, and then I'm big on like work ethic and, you know, busting your ass to get what you want, you know, and everything, but especially at work. So I was really trying to focus on, you know, showing them I was a good employee, you know, and getting the kind of shifts that I wanted and all that stuff. So like, not that music took a back seat, but it took me a little while to kind of get back around to like really focusing on the music again. But you know,
you gotta get the life part.
Yeah.
You gotta get it figured out first too, though.
Right, but it ended up all coming together. And Classic, Classic's a weirdly like, I don't know, homage to a lot of just who I am and where I came from, and just kind of not worrying about I don't know what anybody else is thinking or doing, and just, you know, do your shit, you know. Like I love that track, man. It's super cool.
Yeah.
It's that stripped down, nothing, no real doubles or anything. It's just me there and pushing it out. I think I did it in like 2-3 takes. So.
Oh, dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and then you just kept going with that. You doing too much. June 3rd of 2022.
Yeah, doing too much. That was kind of like my California vibes track a little bit, you know, like because I was doing a lot, you know. I moved across country. I had that going, and I also, you know, I do painting and do artwork and stuff. I do stand-up comedy, open mic sometimes. Like I'm always like having creative outlets were some of the things that helped me a lot, like staying sober and shit, you know, like having, and I would just kind of cycle through those things, you know, sometimes be on, you know, mostly music, but then sometimes I'd circle into doing some comedy stuff or something, you know, start painting, you know, and like having those things. And I can't tell you, you know, how crucial that shit was for me, you know, because like a lot of people, you know, it's like, oh, you know, it's like get sober, you know, stop using drugs. It's like, that's all good, but then you got to fill all that time, you got to fill all that headspace, you got to find, you know, healthy outlets. Exactly, you know, and it's so vital, you know. And for me, like, I mean, I just leaned the fuck into it, you know, and started just doing anything that I thought about that I was like I wanted to do but never did for this such and such reason, you know. And yeah, just kind of came around.
I'm a huge fan of stand-up comedy. That 90% of the media that I obtain as far as watching is comedy podcasts.
Right.
That's what I watch. And especially you being from San Diego, the comedy scene in California is huge anyway.
Yeah.
And in LA and San Diego, I'm sure too. But that's dope that you do stand-up too. Of course, Nashville's got a huge stand-up scene, Zanies too, but.
Sure, and weirdly, like the underground scene, because I started doing comedy out here, and like at the East Room, which was right down the street. It was so funny. My first set I was drunk as shit. Like I had relapsed from 2 years being sober, and I was like, I'm gonna do it. I don't care. And I walked down to the East Room from my apartment, and ended up just doing a set, and it actually weirdly went well. And it gave me the confidence to come back. And then like the next set I had gotten sober again, but I came back. It was pretty bad after that relapse. I ended up having some seizures, and it was a whole thing, you know. And like I was very lucky to come back from that and even be alive, you know. It was pretty rough. I say pretty. It was fucking rough. And I didn't think I was going to wake up, and I did, you know. And then it was stuff like that. I immediately started running back once I got better, you know. I started running back to those things, you know. But I wanted to do it with a clear mind and a headspace, and yeah, I ended up doing like about, I don't know, 5 or 6 more sets, and then I ended up moving. And I've been more focused on music stuff since I've been in California. But I literally just started to like try to figure out some open mics. I work like. Not even a mile from the comedy store in La Jolla, California. So like,
dope, man.
yeah, so like I found out they do some open mics. I'm trying to get up on that too when I get back. So.
Yeah, the majority of the comedians that I watch, you know, most of them are comedians from California that have either moved to Austin.
Yeah.
Those rodents, you know, kind of popping down there. But like, I hear Bobby Lee talk about La Jolla Comedy Store all the time.
Yeah. It's like
him and Santino and all them guys.
Pauly Shore's family owns that. Yeah. Actually, the one in La Jolla. It's the craziest thing.
Mama, I remember them talking about. She passed away, but I remember Pauly Shore's family.
Yeah.
Owns it because I think he moved to Vegas now. Because I tune into his stuff sometimes too. But
right.
That's crazy. So then after that last set that we just talked about, was it doing too much?
Yeah.
You did the collab track with Chucky V and DJ Cliffy D.
Yeah.
One for the night, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, that was we finally, because me and when me and Cliffy had always talked about like actually doing stuff, and this is when Cliffy finally really started to break out on his own. When he was pretty much a tour DJ with Upchurch for, you know, and he was busy most of the time. But then when he came off the tour, he really wanted to kind of hit the ground running and start making beats and putting out music. And he reached out to me, and like me and Chucky had already talked about doing some music together, because I got a chance to meet him at the first show we did with Afro Man. We opened up for Afro Man. Me and Leroy Biggs, shout out Leroy, and Chucky, and you know, we really all hit it off, and we were talking about doing all kind of shit together. So it was cool to like, you know, everybody kind of just converged at that time. We were like, all right, let's do this. And Cliffy shot me a track, and I fucking murdered a verse and sent it over to Chuck, and yeah, we got our first one out together. So I was excited about that. And that one obviously got a lot of legs, you know. Cliffy D is his name carries, and it's helped me a lot, you know, build an audience and stuff. So yeah, it's great. But I'm just glad to be working with a friend, you know, like, yeah.
Yeah. And I'll backtrack. So before you dropped that, you had the OnlyFans single, which was July 1st of 2022.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, so my bad.
You're good.
Over to the other one.
I couldn't remember which one was first myself. Yeah. I was like, I knew it was right around the same time, but OnlyFans was a kind of departure a little bit from like more lyrical, type stuff. Like I was trying to just do something a little more dancey and catchy. Like I don't know. Like I tend to approach my music like I don't like just doing, I just do this, you know what I'm saying? Like being that I've got such a different, musical background with genres and stuff, like I like the challenge. I've written with country stars, I've done rock and roll, I've done metal, I've done hardcore, done rap, but like also within the rap world, like I like, doing different types of tracks, like most of my Spotify releases are more like hype kind of, rap type tracks, but like I've got a more serious, toned down, like singing stuff on my Instagram too, about addiction and different things like that. I always just go into different tracks trying to do something different, or like kind of looking at it as the challenge that it is, you know what I mean? And I don't know, OnlyFans was so much fun, and like it ended up being super fucking catchy, and like I really love that. Like that's actually, I just played a couple nightclubs in San Diego over the past month, and OnlyFans does so well, in the club. Everybody really loved that one. It's really, helped me pull some audience from there too. So it's been really great.
Yeah, that's dope, man. So, what do you got? Obviously, you got the songs with that you're working on with Cliffy, the collab stuff that y'all got in the works. But do you have something because that's your most recent single, other than the collab with Chucky?
Yeah.
You got some other stuff that you're about to roll out?
Yeah. I just threw one up for release called Gorilla. It is coming out April 21st. I literally haven't even fully started promoting that one yet because I've been on this trip and all that. But that's coming out April 21st. And then the two that I recorded last night with Cliffy and O-Rig, we're planning on releasing that sometime over the next month or two. So I'm kind of hitting the ground running, man. Just taking this trip, and I really kind of kicked it into overdrive this year, like 2023. I really, trying to push hard and really kind of get after it, and like I've got to play a lot of live sets out in San Diego. I won a showcase competition, and that kind of snowballed into some more spots in some other places in San Diego. So I'll have some dates announcing pretty soon with that. And yeah, it's really just kind of coming together, man. And I'm just kind of, I'm eating it up and just going after it, man. Trying to stay hungry and keep, stay consistent. Like now that I've kind of settled into a home base and I'm doing well on a lot of fronts. Like I'm really trying to beast on 2023. So, but I'm excited, man. We got some great shit in store. A lot of surprises coming up, and, some collabs, and it's gonna be awesome.
That's dope, man. Well. The people that tap into this interview from ChadArmesTV, we'll make sure that his links, his Instagram and stuff like that is in the description in the live chat, and then pinned in the comments. So y'all be sure to tap in and follow him and go check out the music. He's got more stuff on the way, like he just said. And this has been dope, man. You got a dope story, bro. And like I said, I like that despite all the stuff you've been through, you keep pushing and you keep that positive outlook, and being able to kick opiates, which is not easy to do, especially when you was in as deep as you were, like you said. That's commendable, bro. So just keep pushing.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that, man. It's been a blessing, through these struggles and battles, and it's made me who I am, now, and it gives me the strength to, I just feel like going through stuff like that, and I'm sure you can relate. Yeah. If you make it out, you become forged in fire. You have this strength within you that you can get through anything, and like to be able to persevere through navigating the music industry or whatever it is, it's nothing compared to pulling yourself out of fucking hell. You know what I mean? And it just gives me this weird strength, man. And I've been very, very blessed. And it also just gives me appreciation for life and the beauty of just another day, another breath. Especially when I didn't think I was gonna make it. Because like 10 years off of opiates, but like 5 years ago I relapsed on alcohol. That was what I was kind of referring to earlier. I guess I should have gave you a little more backstory. It wasn't opiates, but alcohol, which is another fucking demon in itself. And that it got a hold of me too. But it's been 5 years since that, and I don't know, man. Every day I wake up and I just feel lucky to be here, and I try to approach life like that, and it's been beautiful, man. I've been so lucky and so blessed to do what I do and show up and do this shit, and like, I don't know, I'm just so happy I get to like pursue something, you know, that is just on that other level, like music, you know, anything creative, you know. It's just I don't know, there's some of the intangibles in life that, you know, we know we're here for, we know are important, but you can't grab it, but it's there, you know, and it's I don't know, it's great, man. I'm really happy.
Well, again, man, I appreciate you for tapping in, and y'all be sure to hit the links up and go and stream the music and give him a follow, man. Screenshot music. I appreciate you, man. ChadArmesTV.
Chad, it's been great. Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man, no problem, dude.
All right, man.